Emma sat on her couch, glancing over at her boyfriend, Leo, who was sprawled out next to her, flipping through his textbook. Leo had just started his first year studying to become a hairdresser, and he was excited about it. For as long as she'd known him, he'd had a passion for fashion and style, and his love for hair was no different. She admired his enthusiasm, though part of her wondered if he'd keep up his interest once he realized how challenging it could be. Leo said, looking up from his book with a mischievous smile. I've been practicing a ton on mannequins, but it's not the same as working with real hair, you know? Emma raised an eyebrow, sensing where this might be heading. Yeah, I can imagine, she replied cautiously. Well, I was wondering. He started, pausing as he gathered his courage. If you'd let me cut your hair. I really need the practice, and it would mean so much to me. Emma's heart raced at the thought. She loved Leo, but he was a beginner, and her hair was, well, important to her. Her dark brown locks fell just past her shoulders, and she had spent years growing it out. She loved the way it framed her face, how it made her feel confident and beautiful. She hesitated. I don't know, Leo. I mean, you're still learning, right? Maybe I should wait until you're a bit more experienced. He looked disappointed, but he quickly hid it with a smile. Of course, totally understandable. I just thought I'd ask. No pressure, seriously. They continued watching the movie they'd been half paying attention to, but Emma couldn't shake the thought. She wanted to support Leo, to help him pursue his passion, and if she could offer that, wasn't it worth the risk? After a few more minutes of silence, Emma sighed, turning to him with a reluctant smile. All right, Leo, you can give me a trim. His face lit up. Are you serious? You're the best. I promise I'll be careful. The next evening, Leo prepared a makeshift salon in the middle of Emma's living room. He had gathered his tools, scissors, a comb, a spray bottle, and even a hairdresser's cape he'd brought from school. She watched as he set everything up with intense focus, looking more serious than she'd ever seen him. This is going to be great, Leo said, beaming as he fastened the cape around her neck. Trust me, I've been practicing. Just relax and enjoy. Emma tried to relax, leaning back into the chair as he sprayed her hair with water, dampening it enough for him to work with. She took a deep breath, focusing on the fact that it was only a trim. He couldn't mess up a trim too badly. Could he? He started snipping, and Emma felt a small tug as he worked, her head tilting slightly as he maneuvered around her. At first, she barely noticed the clumps of hair falling to the floor, but as the minutes ticked by, she started to feel uneasy. The pieces that were falling seemed big. She squirmed in her seat, unable to shake the worry bubbling in her stomach. Leo, how much are you cutting? Just a bit, he said, focusing intensely as he worked. I'm making sure it's even. Emma bit her lip, glancing down at the growing pile of hair on the floor. She hadn't expected this much to come off. She felt the sides of her hair, and her heart sank as she realized that her locks barely brushed her chin now. It was far shorter than she'd imagined. Leo, I think that's enough, she said, a tremor in her voice. He stepped back, looking at her with a satisfied smile. Almost done. Just need to tidy it up a bit. Emma waited, her anxiety growing as he continued to trim here and there, his face growing more focused with each cut. When he finally stopped, he set down the scissors and stepped back, his expression shifting to one of slight disappointment. Oh, he murmured, his voice soft. Emma reached up to feel her hair, and her heart dropped. It was much shorter than she'd expected, falling unevenly around her face, some pieces longer than others. Her reflection in the mirror was almost unrecognizable. Her hair was crooked, the lengths mismatched, creating an awkward and messy shape. Oh, Leo, she whispered, her voice breaking. Leo looked down, his shoulders slumping. I'm sorry, Em. I thought I had it under control. She tried to swallow her frustration, reminding herself that he was just learning, but her heart felt heavy. She nodded, forcing a small smile. It's okay. I'm sure it'll grow back. But inside, she felt devastated. Her hair was so important to her, and now it felt like it had been taken away, leaving her with a style she didn't want. A style that didn't feel like her. Over the next few days, Emma avoided going out as much as possible. She couldn't bring herself to show her new haircut to anyone. She wore hats and hoodies whenever she went to the grocery store or ran errands, hiding her uneven, choppy locks from the world. She didn't have the heart to blame Leo, knowing he'd only wanted to practice and improve, but she couldn't shake the feeling of disappointment every time she looked in the mirror. Leo had apologized profusely, offering to fix it, but Emma knew she couldn't go through that again. She appreciated his efforts, but the thought of him taking scissors to her hair once more made her stomach churn. She assured him it was okay, that she'd get used to it, but deep down, she knew she needed to do something drastic. She considered her options. She could try to get it fixed, maybe reshape it into a short bob or a pixie cut. But even that felt like it wouldn't be enough. The thought that kept coming back to her was something she'd never imagined herself doing. She could go bald. At first, the idea terrified her. She'd never had short hair, let alone no hair at all. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized that it could be freeing. A fresh start. Her hair had always felt like such a big part of her identity. But maybe it was time to let go of that. To let herself be someone new, someone unafraid of change. She took a deep breath. Her mind made up. Tomorrow, she would go to the salon. The next morning, Emma made her way to a local salon she'd visited a few times before. She hadn't told Leo about her decision, partly because she knew he would feel guilty, and partly because she wanted to do this for herself. As she sat in the salon chair, explaining her choice to the stylist, she felt a strange sense of calm. She was nervous, yes, but there was a part of her that was excited too. She was taking control, making a choice that was entirely her own. The stylist, a middle-aged woman with a warm smile, nodded in understanding. A bold choice, but I think it'll look fantastic on you. Are you ready? Emma took a deep breath and nodded. Yes, let's do it. The stylist fastened a cape around her neck and began trimming her hair even shorter. Emma watched in the mirror as the clumps fell, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders with each cut. Then the clippers buzzed to life, and she closed her eyes as she felt the vibration against her scalp, the last remnants of her hair falling away. When the stylist finished, Emma opened her eyes, her breath catching at the sight. She was completely bald. Her reflection was unfamiliar, but in a way that thrilled her. She looked strong, bold, someone who wasn't afraid to stand out. The stylist placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You look incredible." Emma smiled, her heart racing. She felt free, unburdened by the expectations she'd placed on herself. This was her, stripped down to her essence, and she loved it. Over the following days, Emma adjusted to her new look. She had been nervous about going out, about how people might react, but to her surprise, she felt more confident than ever. She no longer hid behind hats or hoodies. Instead, she embraced her bald head, letting herself shine in a way she never had before. Friends and family were supportive, praising her bold choice, and even strangers offered compliments. She realized that her hair didn't define her. It was her spirit, her confidence that made her beautiful. Leo, on the other hand, was shocked when he saw her. He stared, speechless for a moment, before finally managing to stammer, "Wow, Emma, you look amazing." She smiled, feeling a mix of pride and relief. "Thank you, Leo." He apologized once more for the haircut that had led to this, but Emma assured him it was okay. In a way, she was grateful for it. His mistake had given her the courage to try something new, something she never would have considered otherwise. He apologized once more for the haircut that had led to this, but Emma assured him it was okay. In a way, she was grateful for it. His mistake had given her the courage to try something new, something she never would have considered otherwise. Emma and Leo's relationship grew stronger in the months that followed. Leo continued practicing his hairdressing skills, though Emma was clear that he wouldn't be using her as a model anymore. Instead, he practiced on friends, classmates, and eventually clients, gradually improving and building his confidence. As for Emma, She kept her head shaved for a while, loving the freedom it brought her. She would touch up the look every few weeks, enjoying the simplicity and the fresh start it symbolized. But eventually, she decided to let her hair grow out again, to see what it might look like with a new shape, a new style. And as it grew, she felt a renewed sense of confidence. She had faced her fears, broken free of her insecurities, and emerged stronger for it. Years later, she would look back on that disastrous haircut with a smile. It had been a turning point, a moment that had forced her to see herself in a new light. And while it hadn't been easy, it had taught her a valuable lesson. True beauty wasn't in her hair or in any particular style. It was in the way she embraced herself, flaws and all, and in her willingness to try something new, to take risks, and to be unapologetically herself. And in the end, that was the most beautiful thing of all.